I read something the other day that was like, I acknowledge that depression is a chemical imbalance. I acknowledge that, you need to seek out medication or treatment for this. But if you're not also doing things on your own, such as drinking water, getting enough sleep, going out in nature, then you're not setting yourself up for success.
With me and my friends, we have a support network, and it's 3 guys that can pretty much kill a lot of people. And we get together and we have some beers and we cook some food and we talk about our emotions. And it's cool to have a trusted group of friends that are like, hey, I'm feeling this way. You ever feel that way? Yeah, I feel that way sometimes. And so what do you do? And we talk about like how we deal with it.
Podcasting from somewhere with protein shakes and no yearly membership fees. This is the HeroFit Podcast, the show that talks about the ins and outs of fitness, nutrition, and anything else that might get you feeling like a hero. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts, Nick Stutzman and Dan Weber.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into the HeroFit Podcast, where we love to talk fitness, nutrition, wellness, and ways you can level up your health. I am Dan Weber with my co-host Nick Stutzman. Today we are joined by 2 of our favorite guests, Anna Alvarado and Jordan Marwin. Anna is a personal trainer and pole dance instructor at Sweat 716, as well as a gymnastics coach. She's also a precision nutrition certified nutrition coach. Jordan is a trainer as well. He's coaching USA weightlifting out of Kenmore Barbell, as well as functional range conditioning out of Lake Effect Martial Arts, and recently acquired his 3rd stripe as a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Today, we're going to talk to both of them about the mental and emotional side of fitness, navigating health and wellness within a relationship, and whatever else comes up. We got some questions from the listeners as well. So Anna and Jordan, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I got the first question dialed up here.
Rock and roll.
So it's just, what have you been up to since we last talked to you? And we can start with Anna.
Gosh. Well, we both kind of took our professional careers in a little bit different direction. So since last time, I started coaching gymnastics. And if you listen to the first podcast I was in, I think I mentioned I did gymnastics for 12 years. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much live, breathe, sleep gymnastics until I was 14 or 15. So it's really good to be back in that environment. Let's see, had we bought the house last time?
Yeah.
I think so. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
So a lot of yard
working
work.
on the house.
A lot of just like most of our workouts are coming from like home improvement.
Yeah, gardening, landscaping.
All
functional
that jazz. Yeah.
Turned it into
spending a lot of time outside, planning a few trips. We have a professional conference this summer. We have a wedding in Vegas this summer. We're maybe going to Costa Rica in the winter. Fingers crossed. If I say it on air, it has to come true, right? Mm-hmm. I'm holding you to it. Okay. Your turn.
My treat.
Thanks.
Well, since last time, I think that's when I was going into Kenmore Barbell, or at least thinking about transitioning. So things are going really well over there. I really like that gym. I'm trying to develop my own space, looking for something downtown, something that's easily accessible for my personal clients, and to hire some friends to work there too. I just want a good atmosphere and a good training space that's fun to work at.
So you want to start your own business?
Possibly before the end of this year would be my goal, to like have it functional, have it going. I have a lot of supporters, so that's really nice. And, my clients have been with me for 9 years. So it makes it really convenient when you have people that's that dedicated to help out and, scout out some spaces. So I'm really fortunate to have them.
So that you got some good name options.
Yeah.
From Instagram.
Oh man. Yeah, I did. We didn't end up going with any of those, except I really liked them. I really liked them all.
Big time fitness.
Big time fitness. What else has happened? Lots of yard work. I'm the gardener. I think that she just stays outside and close proximity is positive.
And I get tan. Yeah.
You just stand near me and be positive. But we get a lot of hard work. You learned how to cut on a miter saw.
Yeah, he almost dropped the miter saw on me.
I didn't.
Almost.
That's like a month healed. That's
Almost
a
means
scar.
it didn't happen, and I bought a miter saw table since then.
We're good.
So
Yeah.
So now you just keep it in one spot.
yeah, you helped me build an entire raised garden in 4 hours.
I'm amazing.
Yes.
I really am.
Natural living.
Yeah, so it was part of our dinner tonight. I love vegetable gardens, and it's pretty awesome to have one. What else? We're doing
Axe throwing. Slacklining.
So yeah, we've got a slack line in the backyard, so you can get better at stability and balance. And we have a regulation size hatch throwing course and several official regulation hatchets to be thrown.
Maybe that should be your gym, just your backyard.
Oh, it's totally my gym. It's Camp Jordan grounds.
At present moment, there are no axes in our neighbor's yard.
At present moment, yeah.
At present moment.
But there have been.
Yeah.
Can or cannot confirm.
Do you make sure that anybody who visits is not under the influence of any?
I
No.
feel like you
Alcohols,
have
no.
to be under the
No.
influence.
There's definitely beer drinking involved.
That's
yeah.
part of the sport.
Do the
Usually
neighbors
grilling.
have young children or animals?
We throw away from the young
We
children.
throw in the other. Yeah, we throw in the other direction.
That dad though did come out and he was like, I was wondering what that was, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh right, you have like a 4-year-old or something.
It says I have spray painted a target, and it's like loser.
Yeah, if you
on
miss the
it.
target, you hit loser.
Yeah.
So it looks really aggressive. Just someone
We
who
should
doesn't
put
know
his
what's going
name
on.
on it.
No, that's mean.
Okay.
We don't know him that well. Yeah, so we have
He's already scared of us.
a target in the back.
Could be the
Well, yeah,
miter
and he
saw
walked
and the-
out
Yeah.
at 10 a.m. on a
Axes.
Sunday, and we're like throwing hatchets. So, but yeah,
Hopefully
we
live
just
in a good neighborhood.
we get competitive
If anything
about
goes
things.
down, you're the first suspect.
We get competitive about things, and it's kind of a cool, not party trick because you wouldn't break it out at a party, but with places like hatchets and hops becoming more popular, it's kind of cool to walk in and be good at it.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely not a party thing. It's a very serious thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's leagues.
Yeah.
They're like
competitive.
names are up on the wall. So
Yeah.
You have
We'll
to
get
earn the
there.
right to throw that axe. then.
it's pretty difficult. But yeah, that's how we start our Sunday mornings.
And you're good at it too.
Thank you. Yeah.
I won when I went. The only time I've gone, I beat everybody at my work. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
Humble brag.
yeah, I don't care.
It's whatever. I just
They laid
won.
me off. Like
In a work fight with hatchets, you'd be the winner. You'd
I
be-
literally beat the boss. Like it was me and her in the finals, and I demolished her. It
Nice.
was
So you know what it's like.
That felt good, right?
now even more bittersweet
Yes.
because she laid me off.
Oh,
He's in a better place now.
I am. I'm in a way better place.
excellent. Excellent.
See, we're all growing.
I've never thrown an axe.
Come over to our backyard.
Yeah.
Haven't earned my
I-
man
Another
card
activity
yet.
you got to do.
Yeah, I find that it's better not to throw it as hard as you can.
It takes some finesse. Like you
Yeah.
can't just throw it as fast, like as hard as you can,
I
because
pretty much throw it as hard as I can now.
But
I like when
there's-
it doesn't. I like just like
You don't
having
care
it.
if you're hitting the target.
I like it. No.
There's definitely finesse
I'm
to
a
it,
I'm a
though.
fiver all the way. I like when it goes in deep.
Please don't say that.
That,
We can
I,
swear on here.
No, it's like there's more finesse to it than I anticipated. There's like more ways to mess it up. You think, okay, yeah, whatever, you're going to hit the target and you're going to be on the outside of the bullseye or something, or not even close to the bullseye. But half the time it doesn't even stick to the board and it just like ricochets in a weird direction. You're
There's a lot
like,
of
how did that
technique.
even happen?
There's a lot of little technicalities.
So
to it.
the ricochet part is like, I think where it gets dangerous. They're just bouncing all over the place.
would you have it so it's like there's stuff on the ground like gravel or anything that doesn't
Yeah.
ricochet?
At Hatches and Hops, there's wood chips, but
Yeah.
we've got grass. That's
Grass,
good.
same thing.
Yeah.
If not, actually better because it would stick in the ground.
It's like clay dirt.
We have quick reflexes. That's all you need.
I just think of that one video of the girl where the hatchet came back and
Yeah.
she just dipped just
you
barely.
know that the
What?
insurance policies of all hatchet throwing places skyrocketed after that video came out.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't see that video? This is blonde girl. She threw it, bounced off the ground, came back.
It would have
And-
hit her in the face.
Oh, she hadn't ducked. Like, she just barely ducked.
I didn't see this video.
It
yeah,
was
I didn't show it to you
literally-
on purpose.
Oh, thank you. He's like, by the way, this
was like
is
a
in our
cement floor or
backyard.
something.
No, it was a
No,
rubber floor.
It was just,
Oh,
just-
that's why?
Why would they
don't
have
know.
rubber?
I don't know. They should have trampolines.
Yeah, with axes. Yeah,
That was silly.
They
But-
should have, I don't know, like thick carpeting, like shag carpeting.
After it whooshed over her head, she was just like laughing, giggling like it ain't no
That's
thing.
two
I was
shots.
like, yeah, I was like, nah, B, you were this close to being
Yeah.
bye-bye.
It wasn't her time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, it sounds like you guys are having fun. I'm actually
Having
jealous.
Fun. Have fun. You can come over.
We haven't gone paddleboarding yet. That is the one thing we haven't done.
Yeah.
You have
It's too windy.
a place in your backyard to do so? Or you mean
No, we have paddle boards, and
We-
we
yeah, we have
usually
paddle
go in the
boards.
summer, but it's been
Gotcha.
too windy on the nice days.
it's windy everywhere, pretty much.
We'll get out there.
It's crazy. The weather's been ridiculous, but that's why you got the backyard.
Yes.
So, since the last podcast for both of you, we've had people obviously give us a lot of feedback.
Yes, lots of positive remarks. for
Yeah, I
both
don't
your
think
episodes.
I've ever heard anybody say
lots
anything
of
bad.
lots of downloads. You're back by popular demand.
That's nice.
Together,
Story of my life.
together.
Yeah, but I also got some questions from some people that had listened to your episodes, so we can, start there.
Cool.
These aren't word for word, but there's been a lot of multiple people have basically talked about how they really appreciated kind of the vulnerability in your episode, Anna, and also Jordan's perspective on just like the sort of the lifestyle and that you can build around fitness. But one of the questions that I've been asked in regards to pretty much a lot of our episodes, but you might be able to help us with it, is how do you help people establish a goal or determine what they're working towards? Especially maybe somebody had a goal like lose 10 pounds and then they achieved it. Like, what do they want to do next? And I'm guessing it's got to be different for everybody. So when a client comes to you and they're maybe not even sure what they want, how do you help guide them? This might be real. This might be
I can
real
start it.
deep.
Okay, it's up to you.
Because I know you have great perspective with Girls Gone Strong, so you should start with that.
A little bit. I was actually go back a little farther when I worked in Philadelphia. So I worked at City Fitness in Philadelphia, and we used the Thrive model and program there. So Thrive was partially developed by Mike Boyle, also Bruce Mack is part of it, Kevin Carr. So some really cool people in the fitness industry, and they just had such a great hive mind there of how to approach fitness from multiple perspectives. So from the training perspective and what you do, and also how you lay out your gym, and how do you speak to your clients, and how do you create team cohesion. And one of their main tenets, I think, is the why factor. They quote Simon Sinek's "Start with Why" a lot, if you're familiar with that literature, and it applies way beyond fitness. So essentially we would get into the practice of, especially as a new coach, when you're bringing people into the gym, and like the fact of the matter is you have to sell people on it. So there's always going to be a component that feels salesy in some capacity, but I genuinely believe it. I genuinely believe in what I do. I know Jordan feels the same way. And so it doesn't really feel like I'm selling you something so much as I really think this could help your life. So when you're having that conversation, you do have to be kind of vulnerable, and you ask that person, okay, let's say their goal is to lose 10 pounds. Well, why do you want to lose 10 pounds? And then they say, well, I don't know, I think I would look better. Okay, well, why is it important to you to look a certain way? I just feel like I was maybe more confident when I looked this way, or my husband looked at me a different way when I was 10 pounds lighter, whatever. And you kind of just keep digging at that why. Well, why is it important to you, how your husband views you? And then, well, our marriage was a lot happier then. It just goes layer by layer by layer to you kind of figuring out what's really important to them. So in my experience, coaching primarily women, I've had women say that exact thing of, I don't really think my husband looks at me the same anymore. I don't feel confident in myself. Like the spark is just gone. And so for them to take steps towards feeling more confident and even in that capacity, like investing in their marriage, that goes way above and beyond a gym membership and the cost of a gym membership or the cost of personal training. That's everything. We've had people say, I couldn't even get down on the floor to like play with my grandson. And that's like, that breaks their heart. Their grandkids are their lives at that point. So how can they, extend the rest of their time with their grandkids to be able to get down there and help them take their first steps or help them play and learn these things. So those are the things that really deep down are driving people to become more mobile or become stronger or lose weight or build endurance. But it definitely takes some digging, and it takes vulnerability on your part, because you need to make that client feel comfortable. And you're saying, I'm asking you these deep questions. I can tell you why I got into it. And when they see that you're comfortable sharing that, they feel a lot more comfortable sharing that.
So it sounds like when you do this digging, you find something that's a little bit more meaningful to ground whatever their goal is, or even just the reason that they're at the gym. And then I'm assuming that helps people even stick to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. When someone wants to throw in the towel, you as the coach, you need to know their motivations, not necessarily inside and out, but when you look at that client, you need to know really what brought them in there. So when they try to throw in the towel and leave, or they get frustrated, or they stop scheduling with you for some reason, you can say, hey, listen, like when you came to me, you told me you missed out on opportunities to play with your grandson, and you really want to do that. Are you going to be able to do that if you quit showing up? And that kind of hits home, and it's not like, you're not trying to... A
little bit of a guilt trip.
Yeah, you're not trying to guilt trip them, but you're reminding them.
Remind them of their positive motivation.
Yeah, it's accountability. And a lot of times that's what a coach is accountability.
And like vulnerability and building rapport is really important, because they need to know your why. And honestly, if you don't build rapport, you're not going to be able to find what is really digging at them with their goals. And like I've had new clients that, right away, so they'll see my credentials and right away they'll put up a guard. And, I always say that nobody really cares what you know unless they first know how much you care. So I try to find something all my clients that I really care about, because being passionate in what I do is just, I'm lucky to be passionate and value and trust what I'm actually giving people to do to make them better. But once somebody knows how much you care, I think it means a lot more to them. So finding that why of theirs and also making it the reason why you care about them is a really powerful thing.
I think that's true, but also to an extent, I think with fitness now, it's more mental than it is physical. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think everyone knows that you got to lift weights or hit it, do some cardio, whatever the case may be. And I know we also preached a lot about just moving and getting out, taking a walk, whatever the case, whatever you can. But mentally, I think that's something that we really kind of want to broach with this in that sense. Mm-hmm. is how do you fix your mental? How do you fix what is really kind of what your motivations, but to drive you to being more fit or more just healthy as a whole?
So what I try to break down to clients is thinking about constructive goals and not destructive goals. Because losing 10 pounds, losing 20 pounds, losing weight, that's healthy in some people's goal set. Maybe they need to do that to be healthier. But watching your weight fluctuate tends to be very strenuous, stressful, and not very helpful, because if you're active, your weight's going to fluctuate. So people get confidence when it goes down, and then you lose confidence and therefore motivation when it goes up. So destructive goals tend to be highly dependent on emotional state and aren't really long-term sustainable goals. So when I have somebody focus more in on a constructive goal could be adding a movement capability that they weren't capable of before, or doing something like getting down on the floor and up again, something that they can add to their life. And when somebody moves better, people don't move well. I taught somebody who's 60 years old how to lunge for the first time, and they're like, I've been doing this wrong my whole life, and my knees hurt, and they don't hurt now. So adding something to somebody's life to enhance the way that they live is pretty cool. And mentally, that can really build a lot of confidence. And that's a really powerful tool. And when somebody moves well, they move more. When somebody moves more, you expend more energy. When you expend more energy, the amazing side effect is you lose weight.
I'm gonna I've kind of two answers for this. Going a little bit off of what Jordan said, I think like kind of the metric I use for my clients is like, it's not about doing the most. It's not about even doing it every day. Like the fact of the matter is, you know, you can eat your super healthy salads with chicken 5 days, and on the 6th day, if you eat a pizza, like it's not going to kill you. But people get, like you said, you know, if they see what they think is backward progress, they get very discouraged. And it's not a matter of perfection when it comes to your workouts or your diet. I like to use a sliding scale with my clients and just say like, well, did you do better? Did you eat better today than you would have eaten a month ago or 6 months ago or a year ago? If the answer is yes, then you're doing great. You know, like progress is not linear. And so if you make perfection the goal, you're just always going to lose and you're always going to be discouraged. But if you make your goal to just do a little bit better, you're always going to win and you're going to stay engaged in that process. So in terms of, you know, backwards progress and them being discouraged, that's kind of how I handle that. But also to kind of recall, like knowing a client's why. I think good coaches know their why too. Jordan mentioned it on the podcast he was on of how he got into strength coaching, and I believe I mentioned it as well. And I think at the end of the day, to simplify it and not rehash those stories, it just comes out of like a really deep appreciation for having a healthy body to begin with. I think we both consider ourselves very fortunate, and a lot of people just don't really acknowledge that. You know, think about like, if you automatically had like a brand new car when you turned 16, and if it's just something everybody got, you wouldn't really feel like you had to take care of it. You wouldn't, treat it well because you're like, oh, this is just something everyone gets. Well, we get a healthy body typically before we're cognizant or self-aware enough to know that we've gotten that. And we get into those bad habits of mistreating it again before you even have an understanding of what it is to treat your body well. So I like to really remind my clients of that. I used to like come in with like a fun fact all the time of like, hey, I learned this about like platelets, which like was really nerdy, but like our bodies really do incredible things. You know, on the one hand, we can think that they're very fragile because we see some people just, you know, taken down by like a tiny little, you know, virus or something that chips away at you. But on the other hand, there are people who have literally had like railroad track spikes through their head and like lived to tell the tale. Like the human body is like,
is the
it's
most
insane.
Incredible thing.
It is simultaneously
exists.
very fragile and very, very resilient. And so if you can make your clients aware of that, and you're not going to have nerdy clients the way like Jordan and I are nerds, but I tell my clients especially when they feel down about themselves, I'm like, no, listen, like I know that you think you're weak, but like especially again, I have a lot of women, like female clients, like I know, you know, you're feeling weak today, but listen, like you hauled your kids around Darien Lake this weekend. Like that's not easy. That's a lot of work. You know, Jordan's mom just the other day was hauling bags of soil into our garden, and she is, you know, she's in her 60s and she made it look easy, no problem. And so she knows.
Carried 2 big bags of salt into her pool, and she felt like a badass because she was a badass. She carried 2 40-pound bags, and she's in her 60s. And it's pretty cool. That was a really big confidence builder because her husband asked if she wanted help. When she brought soil over, she said, somebody offered to help her put the bags in her car, and she was like, no, I got this.
So
there was like 12 bags too.
I think
I look at my grandpa, and he gives me so much inspiration in the same way. He's like,
my grandparents are like
88
that too.
years old and does everything. And then it's funny because like my mom will be like, you have to help him like carry the bags into the house. I'm like, he wants to do it himself and he can, so he's gonna do it.
My grandma just gave me that advice. My grandma's in her late 80s, and she said, you know what the secret is?
Everywhere.
Do everything. Everything you can. Move a lot.
We just saw her 4th of July over the weekend. She was like, I eat natural foods and I walk every day. And she's adorable.
Go to the Y.
She's like, I'm always, right there between 110, 112 pounds. I feel good about it. She was adorable.
Yeah.
Quick sidebar. One of my favorite stories about my grandma, I called her on her 88th birthday to say happy birthday. And my grandpa picked up the phone. I was like, hey, is grandma there? I wanted to wish her happy birthday. And he goes, oh no, she went out roller skating with the girls. On her 88th birthday. Nice. She was roller skating with her friends. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are just people who are like, and no offense, but maybe in their 60s who wouldn't dream of roller skating right now. And I'm like, my grandma had so much life and so many years to use that life because she took care of herself. And I see people missing out because, they weren't cognizant, or they didn't know how, or they didn't ask the questions, or they didn't have someone giving them the example. So I
think sometimes it's just, they didn't have a model, or they might not have even realized their capabilities, or even been given a negative model.
Right.
But
so
my stepfather says they don't know what they don't know, because he has coworkers and siblings that are just can't do anything. They're dysfunctional.
So I like to remind my clients, especially when they get down on themselves, like, there are physical victories they can celebrate that occur outside of the gym. So like I said, if you're carrying your kid in a diaper bag, like, that's not easy, whatever it is, there's something to celebrate. And so making my clients realize, wow, okay, my body is working for me. They're like, oh, I'm not seeing the weight come off. I'm like, trust me, your body's working for you. Like, it really is. It's doing so much that you don't even know about. And if you had a clue about, like,
there's re-architecture going on.
If you had a clue about 1% of the functions going on in your body right now, like, people look at like Ferraris like it's the most incredible piece of technology. And I'm like, no, literally look at your body. Just from, so many different systems, the immune system, your cardiovascular system, like, all of that is so complex. We can duplicate Ferraris, but we can't like make people the way that they're made. Just like,
when you exercise, everything is remodeling and changing, and there's too many things to go on to even comprehend.
Yeah.
You're changing fuel sources slowly. You're stressing your body to be good in this line of stress versus that line of stress. There's a lot of different things going on, and tracking your weight is not going to tell you what's going on.
I used to say, like, even if you have like a shitty body, like, it's still pretty great. I wouldn't say that anymore, because I don't want to like speak negatively that way, and I'm trying to consciously change my language. But I think I mentioned on the podcast I was on, my mom's a physical therapist, pediatric physical therapist. So rather than, I think a lot of people think of PTs as like rehab after a car accident or a fall or something. My mom typically worked with students who had some sort of like disorder they were born with. So in like 3 and 4-year-olds, at that point, most of them haven't had like traumatic accidents, but they may have been born with dwarfism or some sort of like bone deformation or something like that. So I grew up simultaneously. I went to the preschool my mom worked at. I went to school and grew up next to this guy named Payton, and he was not in a wheelchair when we were in preschool, but ultimately he ended up in a wheelchair. And I remember, and my mom told me that for Christmas that year, I asked for a wheelchair because I wanted to like be like Payton. And I just, growing up around these kids, really wasn't super aware of what made them different or why they were like that or their struggles or anything. But obviously, growing up, I became more aware of that. And, Payton and I went to different schools and everything, but we caught up a few years ago, and Jordan's met him, and he's in a power wheelchair. He plays for the U.S. power soccer team. He was telling me about his like exercise and his activity. This is someone in a power wheelchair who has very limited use of his arms, and he's out there like advocating for people with disabilities and how to make everything essentially more accessible. And I tell my clients, like, if you're complaining because something hurts or something, your gut's in your way, and that's your reason for not exercising, Payton's exercising. Yeah. Payton's in a wheelchair. Payton can't lift his arms up, past a certain distance. Like, he doesn't have an excuse. I mean, he does have an excuse, but he doesn't use it. So you have no excuse at all. And it's not a guilt trip. It's just like, if somebody that was given less mobility and just potential for activity than you were finds a reason and motivation and discipline to stay well and healthy, then you can find it too.
Mm-hmm. To Nick's point, a lot of it is a mental thing, and that shouldn't scare people, because you can ultimately control that and you can affect that.
I think
there's different paths for it. The other thing I've been like kind of itching to say this whole time is, I think if there's one thing people could take away is that human beings are anti-fragile. They actually respond positively to stress. So like, I think there's too much in culture in general these days of like this whole notion that something bad happens to you, like it sets you back and you can't recover from it, and you need like sympathy or whatever. But a lot of times our power and our strength and our successes come from our failures, or they come from our setbacks, or they come from the tragic circumstances that we have to overcome. If you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth and you never challenged and you never faced any sort of stressor, you never encounter a germ, like you're actually going to be worse off. So I don't know where to go with that, but people's attitudes need to change a little bit on that.
The seed has to be buried before it grows.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, a lot of people look for fitness motivation, and I know that you said, Anna, in the podcast that you did, do you remember what you said?
Motivation is fickle, and discipline is really what you need.
Exactly. So the difference between those two is motivation is dependent on emotional state.
It's very circumstantial.
Very circumstantial.
Yeah.
But discipline, people don't really know how to build discipline. And I was thinking about that after the episode. And the way that I put it is, discipline builds on value. If you don't value something, you're not going to have discipline for it. I value my health, and in the morning it makes it a lot easier to drink a full glass of water when I know that if I'm dehydrated, I'm going to feel like crap. I value my health. I value what vegetables do. I've never really been crazy about vegetables, but valuing them makes me like them more and makes me disciplined to eat them every day. So, people think about discipline as, you have to either be born with it or not, or
you have to get up at 4:30 like Jocko.
Exactly. Like you're not Jocko Willink. So, he's also a freak of nature, but he values getting up early in the morning and starting his day early.
5 hours of sleep.
Probably.
He says he's fine. So
but he also eats
he's in that
really
5%
well.
population that can do that.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking
Other
too.
people still manage on 8 hours to get their shit done, though.
Yeah.
But if you don't value something, you're not going to have discipline, and I think that's where it stems from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for me, my discipline just comes from like I like going to the gym. I enjoy the process of it. So I feel like lucky in that regard, because sometimes people ask me for advice. I'm just like, I don't know. I get upset if I can't go to the gym, if I can't work out. So,
Well, what about people who, I guess it's in a lot of ways, the people who have mental health, I don't want to say issues, but I feel like that's kind of more what we're seeing now with social media and stuff like that. People are using that as negatives and putting it upon themselves instead of maybe being more either supportive or just kind of recognizing that I know, and we touched upon a little bit on your podcast, Anna, but just that now might not be real life.
So, I think, and I've encountered people that I think had some pretty jarring views on mental health. And maybe people listening are going to wildly disagree with me, but I've had people say, oh, depression is all in your head. You're just sad. If you're subscribing to Big Pharma for antidepressants, that's on you. You just need to get more sunlight. And there's I think there's some really hilarious memes out there where people are like, oh, you're depressed. Listen to a song you like. It's that's such a small thing. That's oh, your house is on fire. Oh, well, here's a thimbleful of water. Okay, that's not helpful. I appreciate it, but no thanks. So, but I did see something the other day that I think kind of struck a nice chord in the middle, because I truly think, depression and anxiety and a lot of other similar issues do stem from actual chemical imbalances in the brain. And honestly, some people come from really terrible, terrible places, and you can't really know what that recovery looks like for each person. You might have two people who say, I'm depressed, and they might mean totally different things in terms of that person's resilience mentally. But like I said, I read something the other day that was I acknowledge that depression is a chemical imbalance. I acknowledge that, you need to seek out medication or treatment for this. But if you're not also doing things on your own, such as drinking water, getting enough sleep, going out in nature, then you're not setting yourself up for success. So it still did put some
Being
accountability
present.
on that person, because I think it can sometimes be an easy trap to fall into. As someone who has been on anxiety and depression medication, I don't think at any point I said, oh, well, I'm depressed, so I can't do anything. Like, oh, I'm depressed, I can't make any progress in any direction. It takes a little bit of both. Yes, address the chemical imbalance, address your shit, talk to somebody, but you also need to engage in other things that you have more control over. You can't yourself, without the help of medication, change your brain chemistry, but you can talk to your friends, you can go outside, you can read a book that you like. Yeah, you can listen to a song, you can go for a run. And it's just that, those things by themselves don't, I think, ultimately work. But, if you do a little bit of both, then that's when you set yourself up for success. And even if, your depression's not going to turn around in one day, your anxiety's not going to turn around in one day, but the thing I tell my clients, especially when they start, is it's so great that you are taking ownership of your health. Even that step, even if your depression only decreases by 10%, you just took a step to take care of yourself. That's incredible. It's hard to do. It's valuable, and you're owning your shit. So that's an incredible step to take.
It's empowering to hear that, it's not just like just a chemical thing, or just, if you get too much of that first message, then you might feel a little bit like it's out of your control.
Yeah.
So I think having a sense of some control is helpful to get the ball rolling in a positive way. And from what I've seen, a lot of the research coming out today says that there's a high link of inflammation in depression as well. So doing things that address inflammation from a physical standpoint can assist, in case anybody's out there who's not thinking about that. But that means stay away from the sugar.
I haven't done a lot of the reading on it, but I know there's some interesting literature in terms of like the gut biome and what goes on in your brain.
It's such a complicated, I don't want to use the word disease, but depression's and anxiety, mental health things are very complicated.
Oh yeah.
You could have something terrible could have happened to you. You could have had some trauma that you're still trying to recover from. Like it can be an inflammation issue, it can be a diet, it can be a chemical imbalance, it can be a mental attitude problem, it could be bad programming you received as a child.
There's a lot of variables, and it's a combination. It's almost like a combination lock. You have to figure it out, and the way to figure it out is literally all the things that Anna mentioned.
I think this could be a year where people become more vulnerable with their mental health. I mean, I've seen a lot of celebrities come out, and I think that that's something that helps, is when you have people who are popular, however that may be, and they come out and they say, I've struggled with this, or I've struggled with, whatever the case may be, depression, anxiety, these types of mental health issues, but they're still able to succeed. And I think when people can see that, especially in the fitness world, and be able to kind of perhaps maybe gain some motivation off of that, I think that's really helpful as well. I know The Rock, he had said something about it, very recently.
Oh yeah, he says a lot of good stuff about mental health. And I think he's a great kind of, I don't want to say spokesperson. It's not necessarily his one responsibility. It needs to be something that a lot of people speak up on. But if somebody... First of all, if a woman spoke up about mental health, it wouldn't create such a reaction, because women tend to speak more vulnerably about stuff like that. But for somebody that is male, and also like the picture of masculinity as it's recognized, to then display kind of the exact opposite of what we consider to be traditionally male, like that's huge, So if a woman had done it, or if a gay man had done it, it wouldn't have had the effect that it did. But to see somebody who's a straight male, who's conventionally attractive, and it always plays a very, very strong masculine character, saying like, no, I struggled with this, that I think resonated with a lot more men than if it had come from a different demographic.
Yeah, and it definitely resonated with me. I mean, obviously I remember it, and I felt definitely an emotion towards it. And I think, like you said, it's just what they were kind of bringing up too, is just talking about it. Whether that's with like people, or at least people who understand what you're doing, what's going on in your head, or at least want to help and understand what's going on in your head. And I think that can be very beneficial in as far as figuring out your goals, for fitness or for whatever the case may be. Because They might have an insight, or perhaps they've experienced something similar, and at least you guys can kind of
Yeah, it's just good to talk to people.
Yeah, just as a whole.
You might find that somebody has something that they struggle with too, and similar to yours. So there's a lot of connections out there that can be made. With me and my friends, we have a support network, and it's 3 guys that can pretty much kill a lot of people. And we get together and we have some beers and we cook some food and we talk about our emotions. And it's cool to have a trusted group of friends that are like, hey, I'm feeling this way. You ever feel that way? Yeah, I feel that way sometimes. And so what do you do? And we talk about like how we deal with it.
What were you doing prior to that?
Bottling it up, which is not good. So it's an unhealthy thing. So what we did is we kind of just stumbled upon one another. When we're all members of Lake Effect and we all do jiu-jitsu, but we're all friends already, and one of us sees the other one struggling and kind of spoke up, and then we just built from there. And now we have a really trusted group of 3 that we make a weekly thing of like getting together and catching up. And I mean, we see each other pretty much every day in one way or another. Like I train them, and then we do jiu-jitsu together, and then we get together on top of that. But I think it's something that guys should start doing, coming from somebody who was taught not to cry growing up. It really distorted my view on expressing emotions. And not until, my early 30s did I ever really have friends that I talked about that with. So I think it's something that more guys should look into.
And like you said, you were bottling it up. And how was that affecting you when you were doing stuff like that?
When guys don't know how to express emotions, it comes out as anger. And when girls don't know how to express emotion, it comes out as tears. So it's really good for both ends of that spectrum to look at how they're interpreting some external stimulus and how it actually makes them feel, versus just reactionarily going to one of those 2 emotions, which is usually not going to help your situation, especially anger.
And what was it like? How was it affecting your body?
I thought I had high blood pressure for the longest time because I would just be agitated. And, I funneled that agitation into combat sports, competitive games, exercise, running, hobbies, all of that stuff. So, dealing with your own emotions is very liberating, and I find that I have a lot more time for a lot of other things now that I'm not trying to just funnel my agitation into something. I can enjoy a lot more things.
Do you ever find that doing something physical or changing your body can change your state of mind?
Absolutely.
Because there's some interesting theories out there where emotions come from in terms of like brain processing. And I'm going to butcher this, but the latest evidence is that there is a huge link between just like your physical state and your emotional state. And if you manipulate the physical state, you can help redirect your emotions into a direction that you want them to go. I
shouted out one of my really good friends and client and training partner on my Instagram because he made a post on Instagram. He's a dog trainer, Dave Putman. He's pretty awesome.
The Art of Dog.
The Art of
Dog. If you need a dog trainer, there's your plug.
He trained our dog, and he made our dog she's a pit bull, and she's just very anxious, and she did not like our cat. He taught her how to love the cat.
They're best friends now.
They're best friends.
It's
now.
amazing.
They sleep together, they play together. It's amazing.
They're so cute.
So Art of Dog, there it is. But he made a post. He's been training with me over a year, and he told me about how he went home to visit his mom, and his mom, so he's been lifting, he lost a bunch of weight, he gained a bunch of muscle, and now he wears like shorts and t-shirts and stuff, and his mom never saw, he's covered in tattoos, and his mom never saw him and his tattoos because he's never really worn shorts and t-shirt around her, I guess. And she asked him, why did you get so many tattoos? Why'd you cover yourself? And he said, I never liked the way I looked, so I covered myself up. But now I love the way I look, and he's a new person, and he's confident and capable and athletic, and he's just loving life now. He's just, it's a huge confidence builder, and he now views himself much more highly, and it's awesome to see because I'm friends with him, and it's like I could help him feel that way. It's pretty cool.
I think one of the cool things about that is that's also like a long-term thing. Like he made steps, saw progress, and slowly changed himself. And I think just taking those actions, like you show yourself that you have the power to change yourself, and that gives you confidence to apply that same principle in other areas of life.
He didn't concentrate on results. He just focused in on the process. And the most important thing is he's never canceled. He came twice a week, and he's never canceled. So it's just consistency is what gets you to your goal. He didn't even think about the end goal. He just wanted to be healthy.
I'm going to go back to when you said like manipulating your physical state.
I was thinking more like acute. Is that where you're going to bring this?
So I'm reading a book right now. I too have an amazing group of friends. And before Jordan kind of like had his group of friends, I showed him like just one little snippet of the screenshot of it, like a screenshot of a conversation I have with 4 of my best girlfriends. And I don't think he could believe it because I forget what the situation was, but I'm in this group chat with 4 of my closest friends, and it was just to one girl, it was like, I just want to say thank you so much. You inspired me to do this. I felt so good. Thank you for being an incredible friend. You are so influential in your position, blah, blah. And then the other friend was like, oh my God, thank you so much. That makes me feel amazing. You have inspired me in this way. Like, I really genuinely talk to my friends that way. We're just like constantly uplifting each other and giving each other advice and being very vulnerable. And I was like, Jordan, this is how
No negative talk or anything like that.
No, like we are so supportive of each other.
I've since become friends with them, and they are amazing.
They are. So I was like, Jordan, like this is how I talk to my friends. Like I wish you had people beyond me, because like I tell him amazing things, but it can get a lot for one person. So I was like, I wish you had this type of discourse in your life, because I'm so lucky to have those girls who are all incredible in 1,000 different ways. And collectively, we can solve, I think, any problem for the other people in the group. It's awesome. So one of the girls in that group pre-ordered this book for all of us and had it shipped to all of our addresses. Like, I'm telling you, these women are amazing. So she ordered this book for us, for me, called Burnout. I want to say the subtitle is Unlocking the Secret to the Stress Cycle. So basically talk about the stress and the stressor being 2 different things. So for me, kind of the thing I thought about when I was reading this, I had a parking ticket or something. I had a ticket that I had to go to court for. And it was like hanging over my head.
To it.
Yeah. And I know.
And it's based on a memory.
I know right away that I am like an anxious person. Like, I don't know how people like can sleep when they have an unpaid parking ticket. Like this, I mean, all of my bills are on auto pay. Everything is on auto pay because I cannot stand the thought of having anything late or overdue or anything like that. So literally, and oh my God, no offense to anyone that works for City of Buffalo, but when you get a ticket, it's like 4 months until your court date. So I'm like, great, I'm just not going to sleep for the next 4 months. Like I'm going to have nightmares about this. And that's me. I know I'm on the extreme end of the spectrum, but essentially what the example is, like for me, it would apply in such that if I'm getting anxious for this court date, I'm going to prepare in every way possible, but I'm going to get like not hyped up about it, but I'm going to have a physiological response because I'm nervous. Maybe my palms are sweating. My heart rate's probably elevated. Like there's actually a physical hormonal response. So let's say I go through court and they waive the ticket, whatever, and I don't have to pay anything. Great, problem solved. That's awesome. So the stressor has been removed. But physiologically, that hormone is still in my system. Yeah. My palms are still sweaty. My heart rate is still elevated. So even though I've removed the stressor, my body is still experiencing stress. Mm-hmm. And that happens in 1,000 other situations beyond having a parking ticket. So if you handle the stressor, but you don't handle the stress, you're not really handling it. So the book goes into how we effectively return back to that normal physiological state where we're not physiologically stressed. exercise is the by far most effective and healthiest option. It is just without a doubt. They say, I mean, there's other things. You can just go for a walk. You can sit in nature. You can meditate, which are healthy ways of doing it. You know, other people have other unhealthy ways of doing it. And the point is, our bodies are trying to remove the stress, even when the stressor is gone. Exercise is the best one. So that's what I choose to do. But I think it's a really interesting thing to think about, of separating the stress and the stressor. And to be able to, like, I mean, I would think I was crazy. I was like, I don't know why my heart rate's still elevated. Like, I know this is taken care of. I still couldn't sleep, even if, you know, especially in college, I'm like, I know I turned in this paper. I know everything's done. I know I have an A in this class, whatever. And I still wouldn't be able to sleep because I got myself so worked up over something. So acknowledging that, like, it's normal to have a physiological response to something. And for me, it helps to know, okay, I'm probably experiencing this right now. I know my heart rate's elevated. I kind of know the things that I have to address. That book, Burnout, is by Dr. Emily Nagoski and her sister Amelia Nagoski. There's another book I wanted to mention, and it's one of Malcolm Gladwell's books, but I can't remember which one.
Outliers.
It's not Outliers. I think it's Blink, where another really awesome acute example. It might not be Blink, but basically
What the dog saw.
No, it's not. I don't think it's that one. Stop listing his books. They're all amazing, and he has a great podcast. But that aside,
He does have a great
yes, he's awesome. So I think there was like an experiment where they essentially put electrodes on people's faces, and they were kind of like measuring moods and hormonal response based on different facial expressions. So if you smile for whatever period of time was their control, you know, how do you feel afterwards? And was there any change in your heart rate, change in your skin temperature, change in your hormone levels, change in maybe how much you're salivating or sweating? Like, also, they were measuring all sorts of like physiological responses to you smiling. And then if you frown, how does that physiological response change? And they, you know, had electrodes on. They were changing kind of like which of your facial muscles were behaving in certain ways. It was really interesting. And it basically showed that it's not necessarily internally, I feel happy, therefore outwardly I'm smiling. It doesn't always happen from the inside out.
Right.
It can happen from the outside in. And that's why people do things like laugh therapy. In laugh therapy, if you've ever done it, you kind of have to fake laugh when you first start. It's a really interesting activity that I did once. It was like a team building thing. And you feel really stupid at first, but if you bring that thing from the outside, it does impact you internally. So, you know, we think it only goes in one direction, but you can kind of manipulate it. You can kind of reverse engineer your mood, essentially.
Right.
So if you are having a bad day, just force yourself to smile for like 2 minutes. And it might only get incrementally better. But again, that's something that you have power over. I think reverse engineering your mood through physical manipulation is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, it's a lot of this stuff that we've talked about is tough to do by yourself. And I think that that's something that you guys are fortunate enough to have each other in that sense.
I have an anxiety tip to throw in there too. I've only had a couple panic attacks in my life. One of them lasted like an entire week, you know, wouldn't go away, and I was really like getting frustrated about it. And I'm like trying to problem solve my way out of it and like reading about different techniques. And then one of them was like this avoidance technique where you like find something that takes your mind off of it and then it goes away. But then for me, it came right back. Mm-hmm. So the way that I actually killed it, and I haven't had a panic attack since, is I just said like, I just sat down and I was like, I want to experience like the fullest version of this panic attack that I can feel right now. Like I welcome it, and just like dared my body to like give me just the most anxiety that it could give me in that moment, and then just processed it fully. And then after it was done processing, like, oh, then it was gone.
So and that's like completing the stress cycle. So maybe not so much for men, but definitely for women. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Like sometimes you just have this like, you know, overwhelming emotion, something, you know, you lose someone important to you or someone breaks your heart and you just like cry it out. And maybe you cry for 20 minutes, maybe you cry for an hour. And then after that, it just kind of like stops. And even though your situation hasn't changed, like physiologically something has, because you've completed the stress cycle. So it's essentially just something physical that changes that hormone response in your body. So like I said, exercise is a great way of doing it. Sometimes you just have to cry it out. You know, a lot of people do that too in really traumatic situations. But I remember in high school, like I'd be like kind of upset and I'd be like, I need to listen to a really sad song right now and just like cry. You know what I mean? Maybe not, you guys don't. But it's like, again, it was manipulated. It was kind of forcing the physiological or forcing the emotional response to kind of catalyst the physiological response. It just get it out of your system.
I wish that worked for me.
Same thing with like if you just have to bury your head in a pillow and scream, you know,
that one might work
that's
for me.
taking a step towards completing the stress cycle.
Yeah.
That's why people like boxing, you know, I think I mentioned last time when my clients come in a bad mood, I'm like, you want to slam the med ball? Like you want to just like slam the med ball?
That's my favorite
and that's
technique.
that's like a very tactile experience. You hear it, you feel it. There's a lot going on there to create a physical experience out of it that completes the stress cycle.
Yeah, sitting on your phone and scrolling through Instagram will not complete the stress cycle.
No.
Putting a picture of your mortal enemy on a hatchet, you know, of course, that might help.
Yes.
I did when I was working in Philadelphia. I was so I moved here in November of 2016. So it was like a few days after Trump was announced as the winner. But prior to that, when I was still coaching my clients, we had pictures of every presidential candidate just to be equal opportunity up on our med ball wall. So you could pick the candidate you wanted to smash in the face. We had them on the wall and on the floor. And I'm telling you, our clients threw harder than they ever have before. I told someone this morning, I was like, I need you to throw the med ball like you're angry. And she like threw it a little harder. I was like, all right, I need you to picture someone's face there. And then she threw it the way she should have. So
funny how that works. Mm-hmm. But yeah, kind of what I was just going to say earlier about, you know, you guys having each other as people who are obviously high into fitness. You know, we've talked about the things you guys enjoy doing, but what are some of the disagreements or some of the things that you guys might have maybe butted heads on?
Yeah, have you ever had to navigate through
I think there are like
maybe
things,
a dietary disagreement? I don't know.
Jordan eats better than I do in general, but like he doesn't really.
You guys probably don't experience this to the level that other couples might.
He doesn't give me shit for it, really.
No.
He's just like,
I
okay.
laugh about
He's
it.
like, you know what this is, like, you know how it's gonna, affect you. If I complain, he'd be like, well, if I'm like, oh, I'm not lean, he'd be like, yeah, well, you ate like 6 popsicles yesterday. Like, I mean, I know it too. So he's just,
I provide good food. Like for dinner today, I picked vegetables out of our garden. I made us a salad before we got here. And
I ate it.
Yeah, you ate it. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. What'd you eat before that?
What did I eat right before that?
Cookies.
No. I did eat something right before that, and I can't remember. Oh, my God. At work, there was 2 Paul's Donuts whole left in the box, and I ate the last 2.
Work is always
so I could throw away the
sinkhole.
Paul's Donuts box and clean up the table.
See, I didn't even have to know.
But you had to respect that. I
I didn't
mean,
have to know. You know what? For a few weeks, I even denied people from buying me Paul's Donuts because I said, no, I'm going to
Support my fiance.
I'm going to support my fiance. And they're like, oh my God, you love her so much. I'm like, yes, I do. And then she didn't believe me. She came in.
I did believe you.
You came in
He
the work.
made his client.
You
or
worked,
not, yeah.
you worked out with me, and I made everybody in the gym go, hey guys, what did I do when there was Paul's Donuts here? And they go, you supported your fiance, and you are the best person. And you were there, and you didn't believe me. So there was.
Well,
your
I
support.
still took jujitsu for 3 months behind your back because
I know. So I
love
see
you,
that as a
so.
negative. I see that as a negative.
I was supporting you.
So yeah, I support you by not eating poorly, but I also don't eat poorly anyway.
Yeah.
But I do love donuts.
He eats a lot more than I do. You also drink more than I do, for sure. Like, he doesn't eat donuts, but he does have like 1 or 2 beers a day, and I don't have even close
I'd say
to
on
that.
average 1.
Okay. And I'll have like a third of a drink, and then I leave it out, and Jordan goes, Anna, you left that out overnight.
Anna drinks like a third of it and is drunk.
It's true.
So
That's a benefit in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm a very cheap date, to be fair.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, but we don't argue about that. He just knows that I have a big sweet tooth. And actually, since we got together, he has more of a sweet tooth, too, now. So, sorry about that.
yeah.
I didn't drink coffee before him. So I didn't really love that change at first. That was kind of annoying when it first started. He was like, drink this coffee. And I was like, I don't like coffee. But no,
You're tired all day.
I know.
Yeah.
But I said that, and I maybe said it on the previous podcast, I hate when people are like, oh, don't talk to me. I haven't had my coffee yet today. Or like, oh, I haven't done anything because I haven't had my coffee yet today. I'm like, just because you haven't had your coffee doesn't mean you can't fucking do your job.
Doesn't mean you can be a dick.
You can't be a dick. Like, that's, it's
Mercury's in retrograde. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's, oh God.
If you say that, I think that means that you probably don't need the coffee for a couple
I just
weeks.
want to know when people think that they need to know that Mercury. I don't even know what. Shut the fuck up.
You're gonna get calls in about that.
People. I don't care. Yeah,
no, but it's
call
like
me.
it's like that. It's like it really is a drug at that point. Like if you can't function because you haven't had it, you're too dependent on it, you know? Yeah. So even now I try to limit my coffee intake. And I really only have it if I know I have a really long day ahead of me. I like to take at least one day off a week, no coffee. I prefer to drink water if I'm feeling tired. But Jordan does make me really good coffee, and he makes it pretty much every day.
My best friend, he actually took that advice from the podcast, and he's still going through his K-cups. So he's like, but he's got it down to like one a day, So that's why he's taking so long to get through, because he had like this surplus of K-cups or whatever there, the Keurig. But he was like, that's what I want to do. He goes, once it's all done, he goes, I want to get down to maybe one a day, if at all.
Doing it like that, it makes me appreciate it more. Like literally going through our garden, picking everything that we're going to eat makes me appreciate it more. And when you make food fast and you eat it fast, you really don't get a good appreciation for it. From somebody who is precision nutrition coaching certified, you should put the fork down in between bites.
Wow, thanks, babe.
I just like, you got to make a habit of it.
Thank you. I've gotten better, and that's the point. It's not about being perfect. It's about being a little bit better every day.
Put the donut down in between bites.
You're a jerk. It was a donut hole. There was only one bite. Food is like, our food habits are definitely different. I mean, our exercise habits are different, but he does that for him and I do it for me. And actually, I think probably one of the biggest actual points of contention between us was when we did jujitsu. And we're much better at it now, but like I mentioned, did it secretly behind his back, because I'm a very competitive person and I don't like looking foolish. I've only ever done sports that I was good at. I gravitated towards the things I was good at. And I wouldn't have liked something or done it if I was bad at it, which is why I don't go bowling ever at all anymore. So I was like, I need to get like a baseline of jujitsu before I just like make an ass out of myself in front of this guy that I really like. So I like did a little bit, and then whatever, I told him. And even at that time, our training schedules didn't overlap just based on our work schedules. But when they did overlap, or when we would kind of practice at home, Jordan would like give me feedback. And you've been doing what, like 7, 8 years? 9 years. So he's been doing jiu-jitsu 9 years. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for less than 2.5 years. But because I'm very vulnerable with him, because we date, and because I value his opinion, his feedback to me made me very defensive. And I told him, if someone else gave me that feedback of like, hey, you kind of threw your triangle wrong, you need to turn your hips this way a little bit, I would been like, okay, yeah, thank you for that tip. But since Jordan did it, I was like, immediately like, oh, he must think I'm so bad at this. I'm so embarrassed that I did it wrong. So I would just get snappy and defensive. And we were just like, we just can't do jujitsu together. Like I asked somebody else who he and his wife both did jujitsu. And I was like, how do you guys do jujitsu like together? And he's like, we just don't. Yeah. So, but we know a few other couples that train, and, it just became a matter of me not being defensive and him, I think, giving feedback a little bit more thoughtfully. And we trained together today, and it was fine. And, but that was like, we had to go through it to figure it out.
Funny how that works. You care more about his like opinion. So.
Yeah. I mean, the same words coming from another person, I would have been like, okay, great. And maybe internalize it, maybe not. But because it was coming from him, and I want, obviously, him to think that I'm athletic and proficient and whatever, have some finesse at jiu-jitsu, it made me just really defensive. So that was rough.
And then, of course, if you're not good at jiu-jitsu, I mean, he's definitely done, right?
Good thing I'm really excellent at it.
You are excellent at
thank
it.
You. But
you got 4 stripes.
Yeah, I did. I
almost blue belt.
Almost.
Testing in October.
Testing for my blue belt.
Well, good luck.
Ooh, it's rough. Thank you. Yeah, Jordan does some physical things I don't think I would ever do. He's done a few ultra marathons. He did the world's hardest tough mudder. Why are you laughing?
World's toughest mudder.
Oh, yeah.
World's most hardest and toughest mudder.
All right, listen. It was 9:30 at night.
It's past your bedtime.
It's past my bedtime, yeah. World's toughest mudder. Okay, whatever. He did that. So, like, I remember the first year he went and he got to, like, stay in the Pagula suite in Vegas and it was paid for. And I was like, why didn't you invite me? And then I, like, saw what he did and he was like, yeah, I'm wearing a soaked wetsuit in the middle of the night in the desert and it's cold. He's like, I haven't eaten anything except jelly packs for the last 12 hours and I can't feel my feet. And I was like, you know what? You don't have to invite me. That can be your thing, you know? Yeah. So he's done just like feats of physical activity that I would 1,000 times never, ever, ever do in my life. I have no desire to run 88 miles without stopping.
No thanks.
Why would I want to do that? I don't hate myself.
I don't want to do that anymore, but I know I can.
Yeah. So, you know, his mindset at the time was like, well, what if I need to? Then I can do it, you know? And you can call back on that. If it came down to the apocalypse, I have the best partner in the world. I'm good to go. But
that's like a hidden neuroticism though, where you calm on the outside, but trying to prepare for the zombie apocalypse, which isn't super realistic. I mean, he just hides it better.
Yeah. But no, so I would never do that. And he knows, like, I'm not going to go running. I did before we started dating. I was like, yeah, I totally run. I'll go running with you. And he would like lap me.
No. So then, yeah, I would laugh you, and
he was like,
and then I would be like, okay, I'll wear a weight vest, and then it was like, okay, I'll wear a resistance training mask,
which we did debunk as stupid for the record.
Yeah, but I was doing a study at the time at UB that confirmed its short-term effects.
Great, and I took his rowing class every Saturday for however long, and I hate rowing.
Yeah,
I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, those don't really cause disagreements, though. He's pretty much he knows when to pick his battles. And I kind of
laugh it off when I find bags of muffins and McDonald's fries in your car.
That hasn't happened for a while.
Yeah, and chicken McNugget trays in the trash.
Chicken's protein. I brought it in the other day. Well, let's be honest here. Jordan fell asleep at 4:00 p.m. I went to work.
We took a nap and you didn't wake me up. That's what happened. And I just stayed asleep till the next morning. Wow.
So I knew he hadn't gotten up and I was like, there's no food in the house. I'm not about to cook. I had to go teach a pole party, which is like 2 hours of me just like doing pole. And it's like, I had to clean up after.
That's real life.
I didn't get home till like 9:30. I was like, I know that, and again, that's my bedtime. There's not food in the house. I'm not about to go grocery shopping. And I knew he was asleep. So I hit up McDonald's. I got some chicken McNuggets. I didn't get a Sprite this time, though. I didn't get the soda. Yeah. But at this point, I mean, so we're engaged.
So you know what the difference is?
No, we're engaged now. That's the difference. So previously, I would hide it in my car and I would throw it away somewhere else. But this time, I just brought it inside and I just left it out. And the next morning, he was like, when did you go to McDonald's? And I was like, oh, when you were sleeping for 16 hours. That's when. So I just don't hide it anymore.
14 hours.
You need that cheat meal to keep your body guessing, right? Keep the metabolism.
Confuse it.
You know, one of the biggest differences is when I'm starving, I want to get the most nutritious thing into my body, the first thing. And then when you're starving, what did you say?
What did I say?
You're like, that's the opposite of what I want.
Yeah, it's true. He's like, when I'm really hungry, like, I want a good salad. And I was like, I want Cheetos.
Like chicken or salad or stuff like that, something that's dense in nutrition. And then I'll eat whatever I want after that.
I want something that's dense in carbohydrates. I'm very lucky. My body reacts well to carbohydrates, I'm pretty happy where I'm at, and I'm not doing too much to, tighten up at all. But the wedding in Vegas in August that we're going to is a pool party reception. So I gotta tighten up a little bit.
There's your motivation. But is that positive motivation?
I'm just like, they're gonna take my picture in a bikini. I should probably not eat Paula's donut holes or McDonald's.
So a good way to stick to it is to get invited to weddings.
It's a pool party reception. Come on. That's one of our trips, though. We have a Perform Better Functional Training Summit in Providence, Rhode Island that we go to every year. if there are any fitness enthusiasts or
It's a great one.
hopeful professionals, that is so worth the money. And they actually do it in 4 cities over the summer: Long Beach, Orlando, Chicago, and Providence. Providence and Chicago are, I think, like the same distance.
Yeah.
But we go to Providence. I love it. I actually got Jordan hooked on that. And it's just like such a wealth of information. And every year that I come back from it, that's the pinnacle of my coaching for that year, is when I'm fresh out of the conference, because I'm just like hyped up, got new ideas, got motivation, just feeling really inspired. So that's in less than a month.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we've gone a decent amount of time, so I guess a lot of good information.
And it's
there's a lot
my
of stuff.
bedtime.
I know. Well, that too. It's
It's
getting up past our time, but thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, there's still so much we could talk about.
We can always come on again.
Yeah.
We'll recap once you've done pole dance with me, jiu-jitsu with Jordan, and hatchet throwing and slackline in our backyard.
Yep.
We have
more.
like 3 or 4 podcasts already planned out for you at this point.
Yeah.
Well, don't threaten us with a good time. I'm definitely looking forward to the jiu-jitsu
Yes.
specifically. I just don't think I can fit in those heels for pole dance, I'm not going to lie.
Special order.
Special order.
I took jiu-jitsu and Jordan's taken pole dance.
So many classes.
Yeah.
I might come this Saturday.
It's difficult in a different way Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
difficult in
I'm
a
definitely
different
coming
way.
Sunday.
I feel like it's like you got to have the right apparel and everything.
You get
As little as possible.
honestly, and it's not like, here's the thing I've said, I want to distance stripping from pole dance because they're 2 distinctly different things.
Yeah.
You start
But
with little clothes on.
To
You
be
don't take 'em
honest,
off.
the best is to have more skin exposed because of the friction your skin has. That's where your grip is. So the part, I think, one of the many things that makes pole hard is the friction on your skin. People are like, it's pole burn. I have bruises on my legs. I will tender to the touch because it's so abrasive on your skin, and that's what gets people out of it. They're like, wait, like I'm strong enough, I'm flexible enough, but they don't expect that to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I didn't know pole burn was a thing either.
Oh
so.
yeah, well you're gonna have to
Makes
try
sense.
it. You're gonna have to try it.
I will.
was anticipating that.
I will go out the comfort zone.
We'll show them the video once we're done recording.
Yeah.
I think I'm definitely down for some axe throwing and some and definitely trying to slackline. I could see myself having a little bit of fun with that.
That is tough.
You say that now.
I know. No, I know. It'll
As a
definitely
former
be tough.
gymnast, even I walked away from it and threw my hands up. So.
You're like, nah, I'm good.
I can already anticipate my left foot being a big problem for me on that. But
go
probably
one-footed.
a good way to work through the issues is to just keep trying.
For sure. You're invited.
I do have to say, I got the Vivos. I'm wearing them currently.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I've been wearing them for.
Yeah.
I got them a while ago. Yeah, I got the Stealth 2s. I like them.
How was your adjustment
those
into
are
them?
great.
Did you wear them
The
like
first,
all day? Right?
yeah, for the first month it was rough.
Yeah.
I won't lie.
Yep.
And I took CrossFit in them. And I'll write a blog about this in a little bit, but yeah, I did CrossFit in them, and the running in the first time with them was a little rough, but everything else has been fine. Cool. All the other lifting, everything else, I wear these now more than I wear any other shoes. So.
Yeah.
Yay.
I have 6 pairs now.
Jordan's going to be a
collected them.
sponsored athlete. If
Yeah,
anyone
absolutely.
from Vivo's listening,
Yes.
That
please
Evo money.
He would love to be a
I
sponsor.
would love to be.
Yeah.
throw all his money.
Yeah, no, the only thing I was worried about was the insert that came with it.
Yeah, I used that for about a minute before it got bunched up, and I'm not really sure what it's for.
Okay. I still have them in. They've been fine. They don't get bunched
Yeah.
up for me.
I
They stay
ripped them
there.
out. I didn't like them.
Yeah. Well, to each their own.
We'll look for the blog post on it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you for listening to the HeroFit podcast with Nick and Dan. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you want to know more about this episode or listen to past podcasts of Anna and Jordan, please do. Go to HeroFitPodcast.com or just keep listening on whatever app you're using now. Our audience is strong, so just give the subscribe button a little love tap. And then after that, leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever else you can. If your podcast app doesn't have reviews, you can post a picture of our logo on social media and then add 5 stars to it. That way, everyone will know how cool we are. If you think anyone... Go ahead, Dan. here.
I'll give $1 to everybody that does that. DM me.
Yeah.
Make me go broke.
That's Venmo. Make him go broke via Venmo. If you think someone you know would like this episode, please share it with them and let them know why. Then let them know we will be at the Eat Right Expo this coming Saturday, the 20th of July. And you can meet us there in person. Tell us what you'd like us to talk about, what guests you'd like us to feature, or anything HeroFit related. That's it for now. Hit us up on the socials. Until then, keep it classy.
This has been another episode of the HeroFit Podcast, making humans great again, one podcast at a time.